Welcome back to another episode of WRPL, the podcast where we talk about what we're watching, reading, playing, listening to, all the things we are consuming. I'm Ben.
And I'm Steve.
As always, this podcast contains spoilers for anything that is, was, or will be. So you are warned.
Will be? We have the answers to future things?
Maybe. I mean, we may say something that becomes true later on. It's off the cuff from us, and then people are listening back to this years later and going like, oh my god, they knew the future. How you doing today, Steve?
I'm good, Benjamin.
Good. I'm tired. But let's push through. You want to start? You want me to go?
I think I have more than you, so
okay.
I guess I'll start. More than you for once.
I don't know if that's true.
Oh, all right, fair enough. So I completed the Whirlpool this week. Ooh, got one for every category. So what I've been listening to, because I'm not necessarily a music aficionado,
let's get it out of the way. Just get this listening
shit out of the way. As of 3 hours ago, the band Silk Sonic released their whole album to YouTube. I don't know if you've seen these two. I mean, I know you know who Bruno Mars is.
Yes.
And have you seen any of Silk Sonic stuff pop up in your recommendation?
I have no idea what this is.
Okay, great. So Silk Sonic is a duo of Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak. Have you heard of Anderson .Paak?
Nope.
Yeah. I don't really blame him. He's not like super famous. But anyway, it's kind of like a throwback to 70s era, I want to say, R&B, and it is fantastic. It's just two artists who have no real reason to work together other than they both kind of clearly have old school influences, especially Bruno Mars and a lot of his videos and everything like that. It just seemed like two artists who really had a good time creating this album. All the songs are very smooth and well produced. I mean, it's called Silk Sonic because it's smooth sound, and it sells on every song. There's no bad songs. No bad songs.
Wow. How many tracks?
I believe it's 10.
Oh, okay.
They released 3 music videos. One they released the other day. Definitely has a great sense of humor. The last song that they released was basically about a woman who they thought they were the one, and they left him for another man, and there's like a part where they like stop and kind of break it down, and Anderson .Paak is saying, "Girl, I wish you all the best, but I also wish that you walk around these streets barefoot," and that kind of stuff.
That's a terrible punishment.
So it's just every song is so much fun and feels like it shouldn't have been made now, but also feels modern at the same time as genuine throwback to a different time in R&B music.
Cool.
I think it's Bruno Mars' best stuff. I imagine a lot of people, hear Bruno Mars and they just kind of expect the same sort of like power ballads and all that stuff. And it's like, there's no doubt he has a great voice, and I don't blame people for not maybe jumping on just because you've heard his songs a billion times on radio play. It's just like, I'm tired of hearing Bruno Mars. But this is in his wheelhouse, but also totally different, I think, from other stuff that he's done, and it's just a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
I watched a movie, imagine that. It's called Finch. It's on Apple Plus. Have you heard of Finch?
Finch, oh yes.
Tom Hanks with a robot. Yep, pretty much. Tom Hanks, into the world, solar flare, scorched earth. He got lucky because he was in the basement of his work, which is like a robot's facility or something. Food's getting scarce. He has a dog with him, and he's been collecting books, cutting them, scanning them, putting them into a computer because there's no internet anymore. So he's trying to create as much data as possible because he is creating a robot, and it becomes sentient, but they have to unplug him at 70% upload. So he's not the smartest. I mean, he already has a limited knowledge of things. He could tell you all about horses and the weather, but may not know anything about cactuses. Yeah.
Okay.
They have to unplug him because there's a storm coming. They do the calculation. If they wait it out, it's 49 days of this crazy sandstorm. They don't have enough food, and there's nothing they can go get, so they got to move. So it's within minutes of this robot becoming aware he has to like learn how to walk, and like within a day they make a robot learn how to walk. They pack the truck and they start driving in the storm, or as the storm's coming. And his main purpose of making this robot is, I've been outside way too much and I'm gonna die. I know I am, but I can't leave my dog alone. So you have 4 rules of robotics, and it's like the normal can't hurt a human, or through inaction let a human get hurt. And then the 4th one is, above all else, save the dog. And so they're making a trek to San Francisco because they're hoping like maybe the coast, and with the maybe its location is a little cleaner, healthier, able to survive. So they hit the road and battle other humans and sandstorms and each other, and it all sounds pretty cool, but it's not, because this robot is fucking annoying. He's played like a little child, so he's fidgety and, you know, dances in place, and his voice is fine, I guess, but everything he says is kind of like stupid and annoying. And I feel like I love Chappie, the character, but Chappie kind of sucks because he's around people who suck, and they make him awful.
Right. Yeah.
Get this robot, he names himself Jeff, hilarious. Get this robot out and put Chappie with Tom Hanks. I think that would be an excellent movie, but this robot sucks. And he's played by, you know, the shitty brother in Us?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. He also plays Banshee in X-Men. And this guy, I don't know, he does the motion capture and the voice, as far as I can tell. And he ruins it. It's a real shame. But it's got some good parts. It's got a weird scene where Tom Hanks is wearing like a fancy Cuban-looking suit. It's like all white, and he has a hat and everything. And then he just like starts spitting up blood on himself.
I did see the video you posted of that.
Yeah, and the line read is so silly. And I don't know, I guess it's supposed to be sad because it's like moments before he dies.
I was just about to ask, does he die?
Yeah,
and
he does.
above all else, they save the dog.
They don't get to San Francisco. There's a time of day where it was nice outside, so they can actually relax, and he just kind of like knew his time was up, soaking up the radiation, and then dies. So he drives the car to San Francisco, and he takes the dog for a walk, and that's the end. You don't know what happens to him, but they made it, and the dog likes him now because the dog was hesitant, you know, but he had to learn how to win him over because he had to take care of him, and all that is crammed so quickly. So I have a couple of questions about this movie.
I haven't seen it, but I'll answer them.
Yeah, help me as best as you can. So Tom Hanks makes an artificial intelligence, and he seems pretty impressed at the beginning, like, wow, this is a thinking thing. But then he just like kind of instantly becomes annoyed with him, and I don't blame him because he is annoying. But do these robots exist before the solar flare? Was there AI? Was this a thing? I know he works in like a robotics place, so there's a chance, but they never mention if this is the first or if this is just like the cheap homemade version of something that existed before. The only bits of the previous world that we see is like a grocery store, and there's a lot of robotic arms as like cashiers that would like bag and stuff. So it's like, okay, we were a little more in the future as far as I can tell. But I think if you created life through a computer with like the limited resources you had, you would be like in awe. And
I created fire scene in Castaway.
Yeah, exactly. And so I wish, because right after that happens, here's the storm. We have to go in 24 hours. And it's like, give us time to like bond with this robot and have him learn how to walk and do things and become really good. And then 2 weeks later, the storm comes, and now this robot has to experience outside for the first time, and we see the world through his eyes, but it's just so quick, you can't bond with any of these characters. And all you hope is just like, well, I hope the dog survives, but like the two leads are kind of awful. So if you have Apple Plus and you like Tom Hanks, you may enjoy this, but special effects are amazing. It's like flawless. Like that robot is there. That's a living thing doing the stuff. Crazy good looking. It's just a shame he's kind of obnoxious.
Motion capture's great.
What about you, Steve? What's next in the whirlpool?
So I played a new game this month. Yeah, it was free to PlayStation Plus. It's called Knockout City. And if you ever loved Call of Duty, but want to do it with dodgeballs, Knockout City is for you. It's a game where you and your team go around and throw dodgeballs at each other, but each dodgeball has different features. Some games you might get all of them, some games you might only have one type. You always have some sort of standard rubber balls, but there's a bomb ball. It's a ball that explodes, and a cage ball that captures the opponent, then you can throw your opponent off the stage. Moon balls that let you kind of float in the air and throw. It's just a super fun game. I'm not a competitive gamer. I suck at online games typically. Yeah, this one, I don't know if it's because it's new and it's filled with so many new players. There's been more games that I've won than lost, and it never feels like on the rare occasions I played Call of Duty, it just seems like anytime you pop up within seconds, you can just get sniped from across the stage and there's no way to do it. Where this one, it's a little more kid-friendly and user-friendly. There's not a ton of different moves, but it's not stale by any means. There's only, I think, 5 maps, so that's kind of a bummer. But
give it time. Yeah,
it's a game that's constantly growing. So it's been a good time, and it's a game that your 3-year-old could play.
Yeah, I have a couple of them somewhere.
And as of right now, it's not too hard online. I haven't played ranked games, but pretty much all of my games have been played. Well, they have to be played against other people. And yeah, it hasn't gotten to the point where all the people who suck at it leave, so it's only the pros. So whenever you play, you're just getting annihilated every game. But it's not like that as of right now. And different cool customization. And
are there teams? Like named teams with the mascot or something?
You can start a crew, and you can change the logos on your guys' jackets, because it all takes place sort of in the future, and you get a hover car or hover motorcycles that you kind of enter in on. But
are they all city-based levels?
Kind of. One is I guess by city levels, they're just in different cities, but it doesn't say what city it's in. I don't think it'll. Okay,
but is it this could be Chicago or New York, or is it this is London and this is Johannesburg or something
I never really looked at the background of the cities to really differentiate them. I think it's just it might all be in Knockout City, just at different times of day in different parts of the city. It's not like there's a particular...
There's not a jungle level or a beach level or an airplane level.
They all pretty much take place on rooftops.
Okay.
But the one sort of movie level has a hologram screen that changes. It might be a haunted house, or it might be a castle or something. There's different sort of scenarios that you can move through, but the environments are fun, but it's also there's not items everywhere. Sometimes you have to really go searching for a ball, and to finish your team question, you can start a crew, have anyone join, and then so there is teams, but it's not set mascots in the game.
Okay.
So
anything else?
That's all I've been playing. It's been fun, and it's rare that me and my friends have a game where I'm somewhat decent at, and they're just great. I'm actually on their level. So Knockout City, recommend it. It's especially get it this month of November before it's not free anymore, because it's a $60 game.
All right.
So what I've been reading is a book I kind of talked to you about before when we last recorded. I was like, should I read this book or should I read this book? So
did you read the one I picked?
I did.
Okay.
So I read Red Rising. It's a young adult-ish book set in space, hundreds of years in the future on a colonized Mars, where people are ranked in a color system, golds being at the very top. They're the upper echelon of society. They believe they're, the grandest people who's ever existed, because they've just sort of genetically been designed to be better than everyone, and they rule with an iron fist. And then our main character is of the lowest color, which are the reds, and they're just kind of miners and general worker people.
Give me the color list from gold down.
There's gold, I believe. Well, gold's the top, and then I think it's silver. And let me rephrase by saying there's like a hierarchy system. There is, but it's kind of everyone. Here's the top, here's the bottom, and everyone is sort of interchangeable with different jobs.
Okay.
So it's not like necessarily one color is overtly above the other one. It's just these are the quadrants that these people work in, and they all just kind of shit on each other because they think they're not as bad as the other ones.
Okay. Well, what are the other colors?
So there's the silvers, which I believe are sort of your business owners, entrepreneurs, people of wealth. There's the obsidians. They're all soldiers. But they're not, your normal soldiers. They've been bred to be just unkillable killing machines kind of people who just have no fear. And
I'm just picturing an army of Brock Lesnar's.
That's how I kind of picture them, but like wearing all black armor.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's kind of exactly how I thought about it. There's the pinks. They're your pleasure workers. There's the grays. There's your sort of maintenance workers, police force, firefighters. They're kind of military members. And there's the blues, which are all sort of science officers, logic studious people. The greens, I don't recall what they do.
But it has something with plants.
Yeah, it's probably agriculture. Thank you. I don't remember if there's any other...
No yellow, no orange, no purple?
Oh, there's browns. And, yeah, I don't remember having them all memorized, but...
Come on to this show and you don't even know your colors, Steve?
It's funny because the first book didn't have it, but the second book, like the very first page, is a breakdown of the system, which wasn't in the first book. I was like, you should have just had that from the get-go.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, our main character, Darrow, is a 16-year-old boy who has a wife, and basically there's high reds and low reds. And
now we have subdivisions of colors?
But this is the only subdivision so far that I've read, and he's a low red, and so they all have never seen the surface of Mars because they've just spent their family's generations have just lived in Mars core, just digging and mining helium, helium-3, and it's not until...
Is that their energy source?
Essentially.
Okay.
So something happens. He gets recruited by this terrorist group called the Sons of Ares, and their mission is to have him infiltrate Gold Society and one day lead a fleet that they will use to destroy this dictatorship of the Golds. It's Hunger Games meets Game of Thrones in space, and it's fucking awesome. At least there's the first book, because first they have... This kid goes through so much. If I have one problem with the book, I know there's the Mary Sue. Is it Mary Stu is the male version?
Gary Sue?
Gary? Okay. Whatever. He's a Sue. And because in the beginning of the book, he starts out as handsome, and he's the best hell diver. Hell divers are the guys who just drive giant drills. And he's 16 years old, and he's the best guy on the crew. He's the fastest. They pretty much come of age at 16 in this future.
And they just give you a bride?
No, so it can be an arranged thing, but pretty much it's just the girl decides. It's just once she hits 14, once she hits 16, she's allowed to pick get a husband, and most women do. And his wife became 16 before he did, but because they were so close as kids, she waited until he was 16 before she took a husband. And what's nice about it is, like, throughout the entire book, like, he always is talking about her. This is like his true love in all sense. Like, they're not a bad match at all.
It's not some creepy sex pervert thing where
No.
you're marrying your children for procreation.
It's just how this society works.
Cool.
And so anyway, yeah, he goes through so much. They have to physically change his entire body by, like, he meets I think they call him a cutter, which is essentially a futuristic plastic surgeon, and basically, like, change the color of his skin. Not to white, I don't think.
Okay.
It's not anything like that. But, yeah, they change the color of his skin. They have to remove his eyes and put new eyes in, because the golds have like gold colored eyes that like help them see even more impressively, I guess.
Okay.
Change his hair color. Like they pretty much change it from one handsome person to an even more handsome person, because everyone in the Gold Society is beautiful.
Well, yeah, you couldn't take like an Uggo and then turn him instantly into a beautiful person. You got to take that perfection of what you think is perfection and work on it. So, makes sense.
Yeah. In the book, he was just like, I was considered very handsome where I'm from, but outside of this world, I'm not handsome at all. And so they made me more handsome. Just like, man, your main character can't just start out as an Uggo in the future.
No.
You really have to establish, like, oh, you want to fuck him from the get-go. But also, you want to fuck him even more now.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they change his body, and he gets trained by this group, and he gets sent to the school on Mars, where you don't know the test, but pretty much everyone who graduates from this program goes on to do amazing things. And his first challenge is like a written test kind of thing, which he nails every question but one. They never say what question he missed. Then he had to do like a physical test, and it was sort of, I don't remember the test exactly, but it was essentially torture to his body. But he's like, I've went through worse getting my whole body rearranged to look like you guys, so it's not that bad. And then his third challenge is he has to kill another student. So they just put 2 kids in a room and go, okay, only one of you are allowed to come out. And so from the get-go, he has to murder an innocent person.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Just so, be part of the club?
Yeah, because the Golds rule with an iron fist that they pretty much everyone in power needs to be cool killing people, because you can't show weakness. That's why you run society. So yeah, his first thing is to kill a kid, and then they spend the next 2 years in a Hunger Games type scenario where they break up everybody into groups, and you're not allowed to leave until one group has taken over everything. And so they're playing this game for 2 years, and most of them don't really have futuristic stuff. Like they have, the main character becomes known as the Reaper because he has this sort of like this blade that looks like a scythe, and just the cast of characters is really cool. There's a character who I can tell is an instant fan favorite, where he's just the smallest one and everyone expects him to like die, but he's like the best survivalist. And he wears a wolf pelt and starts his own little group called the Howlers, and they become like an integral part of like Darrow's group, and he's just super loyal but also the most vicious little bastard there is. And he's so badass, and just the highs and lows of like kind of playing politics as children, and the things they'll do to each other in a Lord of the Flies type scenario where they like are murdering each other and they're raping each other and all this like terrible stuff, because we have to win this game if we want to move up, because if we lose we'll be shamed and we look like shit. And just the amount of trials and tribulations that Darrow goes through of rising in power and then losing power and then having to regain it, while also dealing with things in the game that might be set purposely against him, and how he's trying to move up. It's all really well thought out, really awesome.
And this is just one book?
This is book 1.
Wow.
So 2 years warring with other students in order to win, and then immediately going out into a world where you have to...
And the war that's going on, it's between all the colors? Or just the golds?
Are you talking about in the game or in the outside world?
The game. The 2-year thing.
The 2-year thing? So I think it's mostly for golds. I think there might be a few colors that are allowed in if they score high enough, but pretty much it's all gold students fighting other gold students.
Wow.
Because they want to like...
They don't just think themselves as being high and mighty, they like prove that they are the best by culling the herd pretty much and taking the best of the best.
The majority of these students all are golds from houses with names, and then they just are trying to find the best of the best. So like killing, like you can come from a very wealthy house that owns a continent on a planet, but your son could die in the first day because he just wasn't physically strong enough to kill the other student.
Jesus.
So yeah, you being at the top doesn't guarantee your child will live through this. And
damn, so being a lower red sounds pretty good.
Well, they're the slaves of the world.
At least I don't have to kill my friends or die and make my parents childless.
Yeah, but I mean, you are working a shitty job where there's also, I guess, pit vipers on Mars, which I guess are space snakes at this point. Because I mean, because they've colonized Mars, I imagine just animals have gotten into the core. But the first sort of big twist is they take Dare up this elevator after this thing. I won't get into spoilers per se, but he goes up and then he sees the surface of Mars for the first time, and they've told his people for hundreds of years that they are working so people can come to Mars and one day colonize it, where they've actually colonized Mars 400 years ago. And so he's furious, and he's like, all right, I'll help you guys bring down society because this is fucked up. And so that's the cool first.
Sounds awesome. Yeah. And what's it called again?
It's called Red Rising. It's book 1 of the Red Rising trilogy. I'm reading book 2 now.
They're all out? All 3?
All 3 are out, and there's a sequel trilogy that's... 2 of the books have been written. 1 comes out next year.
Okay, so you got some reading.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And from what I've read about this series is that it has the rights to the film/TV show have been bought years ago, and the writer of the book has been working with various streaming services to try and get it into a live-action TV show. And it sounds awesome.
Yeah, that sounds very cool. Well, one of my favorite shows of this year came to an end on Tuesday. Impeachment, American Crime Story.
Ooh.
This show is so good. It's...
You know what? In the whole American Crime Story, it seems like a show that Aaron Sorkin would have done. This seems like the kind of show, with O.J. Trial and Versace. And it just seems something that he would have, of course, dug into and done his Sorkin-y, quippy stuff and made it this fast-paced, intense thriller. But
nope. Ryan Murphy, same guy who brings you the
Glee,
the terrible horror version of American anthology TV shows. But this show is fantastic, from the acting to the recreation of like people, what they were wearing on that interview in 99. It's just like flawless looking, and everybody just gives the best performances. I want to give a special shout out to Annalee Ashford, who plays Paula Jones. Just what a performance. And it can come off kind of cartoonish and very accent heavy Southerner, and she has a very large nose. And Taron Killam plays her husband, and he's like cartoonishly hilarious. He's like the biggest asshole redneck husband, just pure piece of shit. And because he's a comedic actor, it's so funny to watch it. It's like the one thing that takes me out of the show, because he's so funny being this cartoonish, but it's really good for her character. And she has, like, all of her scenes are so good and heartbreaking, and the way the world treated all the women in this whole thing. Monica Lewinsky got absolutely shat on for like instantly, like instant stardom in your whole life, exposed to every human being at the dawn of the internet, and it's like the most embarrassing, horrible thing. And Linda Tripp, even though she is an absolute horrible bitch, I gotta stop calling her that. Like, I think last time I talked about this, I called her a huge cunt.
I think you did too.
Linda Tripp is just an awful person, and I feel totally bad for her, because everybody else in the world knew she was a horrible person and had no problem telling it to her face in public daily. Like her, and like she even went through plastic surgery to look different, because like people mocked her appearance so much. Like 2 of the main people, including Paula Jones, got plastic surgery because the media was just constantly talking about how ugly they were. And like Paula Jones has a part, and she's like, I didn't even know like I was so ugly with my big ugly nose. But like everyone in Washington says I'm ugly, so I guess I must be. And it's just heartbreaking. It's so sad. Everybody looks so good. Clive Owen as Bill Clinton is awesome. He has like 2 or 3 like big kind of monologues in the series, and they are awesome. He's everybody's going to get nominated for this show, which is a shame. I've heard like nobody talking about this.
Yeah, I figured this show would have blown up just so Republicans can use it as fodder. It's like, oh, remember when those Democrats were all giving each other blowjobs?
It makes Republicans look like pieces of shit. But, like, they are the worst. Like, what they did to, like, scare Monica Lewinsky into just, like, signing over all of her rights and everything because they were going to prosecute her and her mom and forever. And it's like she was able to just, like, get up and walk out of the hotel room they were holding in because, like, they didn't have anything to arrest her on. And they just scared her into submission, and she was there for like 18 hours and had no idea that she could just actually get up and leave and call whoever she wants. They had no authority over her, and they were just being the biggest pieces of shit. My one complaint is when it ended, I thought it went to commercial. I thought there was going to be one more scene. Mm-hmm. They don't even do like and Linda Tripp died in 2020 of, like pancreatic cancer kind of and stuff like that. And Paula Jones I actually don't know what happened to Paula Jones, but I mean, you're supposed to just kind of know because Hillary gets her nomination in New York and everything. Fantastic show. Couldn't recommend it enough. I would say it's better than Assassination of Gianni Versace.
Okay.
But I think I like OJ better. But, God, he just does not look like O.J. Simpson. Everybody else in that show looks fantastic for their characters, and he just does not look like O.J. Simpson.
They just wanted to put Oscar winner Cuba Gooding Jr. on the...
I don't blame him. Star of Love Boat?
Fuck. Boat Trip?
Boat Trip?
I think it's just Boat Trip, yeah.
Ew, what a dumb name. Star of Boat Trip?
With co-star Horatio Sands.
I like Horatio Sands. He's funny.
You heard about his... I think it's Horatio. I think he's like got arrested for like child porn or something like that. Yeah.
What?
Or he did something sexually...
Come on, guys. What's wrong with people with money? Like, you could have sex with so many other people just because you're famous and have money. Why does it have to be children? God. Tell me you're misremembering it or something, because that's a bummer.
On August 12th, 2021, a lawsuit was filed against Sands accusing him of sexual assault. Oh, the woman. Remaining anonymous.
Oh, it's just a woman? It's fine. It's
would
fine.
Would grope her and make sexual comments towards her, all while under the age of 18. There it is.
There we go. Okay, so, yeah.
The lawsuit was by a woman. Apparently, some of the incidents occurred before she was one.
Got it. Gross.
So
into the trash can with you, Horatio Sands.
Doesn't say he did it. Just says that's what he's accused of.
I could only assume. Look, you look at Horatio Sands and someone says, that guy assaulted a young girl. You'd be like, yeah, okay, I see it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I always, like, him and Bobby Moynihan are always, like, the same person.
I think about that too, yeah.
But Bobby Moynihan is so much better than Horatio Sands.
I love Bobby Moynihan.
Yeah. Bobby Moynihan, do not assault young women.
Please and thanks.
American Horror Story. Impeachment, American Crime Story. Very good. I can't wait for season 4. What do you got, Steve?
That was all my stuff, except for the main topic.
Oh.
I did Silk Sonic, I did...
Okay, yeah.
Knockout City, and I did Red
assumed you had a watching that wasn't the main topic.
If I do, I don't remember watching it. So.
So our main topic of tonight is the Eternals. Is it the Eternals, or is it just Eternals?
I think it's just Eternals.
Eternals, okay. Marvel's Eternals. There you go. You gotta throw something on it. The lowest rated Rotten Tomatoes Marvel movie, getting kind of trashed by critics, but not by audiences. Where do you fall on this, Steve?
I have a very controversial opinion in that I think this might be the best movie Marvel has ever done.
Really?
Yep. And I'll say that as it's not my favorite. I think there's movies that are more fun. Guardians, I think, is more rewatchable. I've watched it a bunch of times. It's very funny. And my personal favorite is Winter Soldier because I think it just balances both and really changed the way Marvel went forward in terms of just action and story and character.
Those Russo brothers.
And taking the character who a lot of people didn't love in the first movie and then making him the favorite next to only Iron Man, I guess. And
isn't it crazy that in this huge spawning thing of 26 movies over 12 years or whatever, that like your two main leads are also like awesome and you like both of them, perfectly cast and nail it. Like it could have been so easy for like Iron Man to be so cool and Captain America's like, they kind of fucked it up on Captain America.
Yeah.
How lucky are we?
And it's funny that they even kind of make mention of that. It's like, look at this Boy Scout who says like language during a big action piece, but Winter Soldier made him so badass. Everyone's like, no, Captain America is the shit.
Yeah.
And Captain America is my favorite of the original Avengers. So, but anyway, in terms of the Eternals, and I think just as where I feel like it's at, it has everything that makes a Marvel movie, but at no point really felt like a Marvel movie to me, except in very limited pieces. I think it's beautifully shot. I think all the actors do a great job. If there's one fault in it, it's the deviance, but I think it's the best directed and best self-contained Marvel movie they've ever done, and I understand the complaints people have had about it. I did not feel those complaints. I had a great time. I was not bored, and I think it was a slam dunk that is getting underappreciated.
Wow.
Controversial opinion.
I did not see that coming. Well, as I was saying earlier, this movie left my mind almost instantly. I thought I remembered the entire thing, but I'm learning of gaps, and like I've said before, I am an old person, so that could be just a thing. And I'm pretty sure I did not like doze off in this one, that's for sure. But I tried to think about this movie as I worked, and it just like kind of bubbled up and then it went away. Like I couldn't form any sort of real interesting thought about anything that happened, but I couldn't say anything negative either. This is pretty middling. No, this is pretty middle of the road for a Marvel movie. But if this had no connection to the cinematic universe, then I think it would be pretty cool. Kinda is... It reminds me of a really good, well-handled Gods of Egypt. Or like the Immortals.
Right.
Even to the 300, but not as much. And it's got some really good aesthetics, and I like the cast, but everybody is so kind of like quiet whisper acting, and it's not funny. I think this movie looks pretty good in most parts, but also kind of has like a dull haze over most parts. I think this movie could have been so much more vibrant, and it has too big of a cast. Some of these characters needed to go. You don't need all of them. We got to care about this whole family, and there's just way too many to introduce, and then to get the team back together before the story really gets going. And if you just kind of like either got rid of some or just merged two characters, Icarus has flight and strength and lasers, so why can't other people have multiple stuff too? So it's like, do we need punchy guy? Okay, before we go on, can you name all these characters? Do you know their names?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I had trouble with two of them, and
Do you want me to do it now?
I do. But I could remember the power, but I couldn't remember the name.
All right, you give me the power, and I'll tell you the name.
Okay. No, you just give me the power and their name. Okay. Because me trying to describe what it is...
So there's the worst Eternal, which is Gilgamesh, and he was punchy hands.
Punchy hand. It only happened on one arm, I think. I don't think it...
No, I think it did both.
Really?
It
doesn't matter.
Fisticuffs guy. Gilgamesh, he was the worst.
He was the name I couldn't remember for the life of me.
There's Athena, which is Angelina Jolie, who can create... Weapons out of energy, essentially. There's Kingo, which was Command Nanjiani, shoots lasers out of his hands. Finger guns, yeah. There's Sprite, who can create illusions.
Mm-hmm.
There's Ajax, Samahayak, who can heal. There's Icarus, who can fly, shoot laser, Superman. There's Droog, who can control people's minds. And then there is... Oh no! the main woman on the team. Julia.
Ooh, you can't do it. You were so confident.
And she's the one whose name they said the most.
And it's a pretty common pop culture name for something else, too.
Oh, Cersei. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And
she do what?
And she can alter matter.
Okay. Is that it?
I think that's it, right?
Nope. You missed one.
Oh, Makari the Speedster.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I had trouble with Makari and Gilgamesh. I was just like, Argonaut?
I mean, they
Juggernaut, what's his fucking
were pretty much the two that were in it the least.
Yeah,
so.
and it's like not purposeful. Make Sprite the fast one, because that makes sense. Like you're fast and you can do illusions, so you could like trick people. You're there, on two different sides of an argument or something. Okay. And then give Gilgamesh's power to I don't know any of them really.
Maybe Kingo
no.
like.
You forgot, Fastest.
Oh.
You forgot.
Oh, man. I mean, I still knew his name. I just forgot.
Did you, though?
Yeah, Fastos. Which is, I mean...
The guy
it's
who can
pronounced,
make anything.
I think it's spelled like Fastos, but they just call him Fastos.
Yeah.
Which is... They have a speedster.
They
don't call him
Fastos. But it's like, imagine it's like everybody has all these names, and then the quick one shows up and is like, I'm Fastos. Like, ugh.
Ugh. Anyway.
Yeah, so like give Gilgamesh's power to
Fastos.
That would, or Camille. He could do big punchy shoot
punchy thing, and then like the energy from his hands wraps to his fingers.
Shoot, and it charges up his hands, and then he could punch or whatever. Yeah. So it's like you cut down a little bit of the cast, and you make the reunion thing a little bit shorter, and can get into the story. And I do feel like it may have played better chronologically. There's a lot of jumping back, and all that stuff is good. But, and I've heard it say a million times, this should have been a series, not a movie. Yeah. If you're going to have this many characters and be so big with your idea, which is like, they're cosmic people, and it's like 99% on Earth. There's like no cosmicness to this. It's like, oh, they got a ship, and they have some powers, but so do a lot of people on Earth. And we don't see crazy Thor or Guardians type worlds. We just see this great beach.
Well, yeah, but where else would they be when their mission was to do the Earth
absolutely.
stuff?
And it's like the only time it does cosmic stuff is just when like
the Celestials pop up.
The Celestials like grab them out of thin air. But that's so like it's a face, it's a person on a hand, and that's all you see of like this weird cosmic whatever.
I mean, I could see this movie, talking about Captain America. This could be the first Avenger to the situations like, oh, well, they're the Eternals and they're cosmic beings. Like, I want to see them in space, and I want to see them do like, maybe fight I guess they technically do kind of fight a Celestial in this. Yeah. But like fight some grander thing than something on Earth. But at the end of this movie, certain characters do go to space, and they could very well come back to Earth. Sure. And this again takes place on Earth. Sure. But you could have a sprawling space adventure with these guys. But do you need two of those if you have the Guardians? Okay, you know what this movie could have needed, or should have needed? Because they're kind of like weird robot people. They're not like humans, and they get their minds wiped, and it gives you a weird craziness disease. So, like, you start it with them on another planet, or people who, maybe it's not the whole team, like, they don't necessarily all have to know each other, because like they've done this on other planets before with other, like they just partner up other Eternals in the world. It's not like these are the only ones. So maybe I think you forgot. No, you didn't forget it. No. Okay. I kept wanting to call her Apollo, but her name's Ajax. Such not a Samahai woman name, but it was a man in the comics, so
yeah, that's true.
Actually, everyone was a male in the comics except for Cersei.
So you have some of the team, maybe some other ones, and they're on another planet, and they're about to leave. They've done their duty. They've raised this society to the point, and before we see a celestial is born, they've already been back on the ship and given a good job. And I think like they should look like them. Like them as celestial, them as Eternals should just kind of be like featureless. And then when they go to a planet, whatever the life forms on it, they would look like them. So maybe it looks like Salma Hayek, but she's got weird fish makeup on or whatever. It goes back into the ship and goes into like a blank face Slender Man looking mannequin thing. You know, maybe they're all just different shades of flesh. And then we see them get put back to sleep. And then next time they get woken up, you could have, we got paired together again. Cool. We have a thing. And, you're new. Welcome to our next assignment for the next 1,000 years. And kind of the early stages of them bonding. And then it would have been nice to see chronologically how they became friends. Because they don't feel like friends or family. They just feel like a team. Mm-hmm. And, like, one of them fucked off on a ship the Speedster. It was just on the ship the whole time, like ignoring everybody, and nobody did anything about it. It's like they're not a family. They don't seem to give a shit about each other. It's just like we're doing this job, and it would have been nice if we had a little bit of that and see the breakdown of the family and why maybe they act like this.
What do you mean act like what?
Just kind of apathetic to each other and like the mission. Like it would have been nice if there were some rules of what it is to be in Eternal. Like every 500 years we get together and we kind of vote. How are we doing? Are we going too fast? Because like they break up and they do their good separately, and then they come back and then they all go to a different place, and so then you see the people going, I love the humans. They're like really thriving and they're really smart, and then you have other ones like they're fucking eating and murdering each other on the other side of the world, and they're freaking monsters. We need to get rid of them. And then it's like, okay, no, we vote. It's in the favor of keep doing the job, and they do it, and it just seems it's like an arbitrary thing because the Celestial will just like force them to make it anyways. Anywho, whatever. Get off topic. It would have been nice to see them sow the seeds of doubt of like maybe Icarus was super positive and it's someone else who was kind of sour on humans, and then eventually he comes around to them. It just feels like we're supposed to like these people and they should like each other, but I didn't get it.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I think they did a pretty solid job pairing everyone off, kind of.
Sure. I think Gilgamesh and Athena
were definitely the oddest choice together, but I liked Icarus and Cersei together. I mean, I think that Makari and Drug, they definitely had like a thing going on, and I think their chemistry was stronger than Icarus and Cersei's, but I think that's because like they were having fun with it, where because Icarus and Cersei were the two leads, they always had to be sort of, I don't know, king and queenly to each other and have the sense of purpose and leadership, so they couldn't have fun even though that they were in a relationship for 5,000 years.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I did buy their relationship and their love for each other, and I mean, the only Eternal that didn't really get anyone to work with was Salma Hayek, Ajax, but she was
boss.
But she was boss, yeah. And I liked their relationships. I was surprised that Athena and Gilgamesh didn't put off like we're together, like husband and wife kind of thing. It was just like I watch over her.
See, it would have been nice if like they had worked together on a previous mission and they really bonded over the 7,000 years it took for that one. And so then when she started getting the Mad Weary, terrible name, that he felt responsible because like, that thing we went through was horrible and it really messed with her and I was there, so I'm going to take care of her. It just seems like, well, what's going on? Well, these people are paired and we got to put this person here. Well, who's left? These two. Okay, I guess he's been watching over her, whatever.
We'll kill him off later. Right?
Yeah. It's like, don't bother introducing him in any meaningful way because he's going to be dead in a scene, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and by no means do I think this movie's perfect, and I think it should have been a TV show.
Yes.
Argument.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier should have been a movie. That could have been a 2.5 hour good story. This should have been a 7-part Disney Plus show.
Yeah, and I totally get that argument but I think at the same time, I mean, any story typically can be more thought out and in depth when you have more hours and break it down. It's like, sure, like you can take any of these Marvel movies and make them a TV version and it, you know, be more impressive because you've established more character growth or whatever.
Yeah, but inflating like Iron Man, Iron Man 1 should have been a movie. There's so much more you can do with that. That's like 3 main characters, 3.5, and
no, I mean,
you can't make it big. Where this is like the main cast of the good guys is what, 9? Is it 9 of them?
I think 10.
10 main people? That you need a show. Because then when you get Druig and Speedy, looking at each other, but what is that? What's behind it? It's like, oh, they've just been kind of flirting with each other for 7,000 years? What happened between them? There's not enough there for me to like give a shit. So just because they like, oh, look how cute they are smirking at each other is not enough for me to like care about their relationship. So the Eternals are sent down to a planet to foster growth in humans, but not too fast, because we need enough people to hatch Celestial out of the Earth, because I guess the Earth is an egg.
Big old Earth egg, yep.
So they send these 10 people with these crazy cool powers and go help out, but don't like influence too much. It's like, okay, what's the point of them being there? Like, how much can they really help without really giving them a push? It's like, it's ridiculous. Because you have 10 people with powers that do not help humans get better. So there's like two groups of people. You have like the fighters, the people who can attack the deviants. Like that's the main purpose of them to be there. We gotta like help the humans, protect them from deviants. And so you have Athena, Gilgamesh, Icarus as like fighting force. Mm-hmm. So then you have people who could like help or manipulate humans in some way. So you have Ajax with healing and Sprite. I keep wanting to call her Pixie. Sprite, Druig, Cersei, and
Makari.
Phastos.
Oh, Phastos.
So then you're left with Makari. What is her purpose on Earth? Like, how does she help? She could run real fast, but if she can't interfere too much, what is the purpose of having a speedster on this team?
Well, I mean, she was part of the fighting force against the deviants, but also, if that wasn't her main function, I essentially imagine she's the errand getter of the group, because she can travel so far so fast, and like, you know, they're all helping humans evolve, and so it's
they all seem to be together. It'd be one thing if they spread apart. Sure. Then it's like, yeah, she's the one that keeps everyone in the loop because like she can get there in an instant.
But I think because they need to be together because Ajax is their leader, and you know I think it's just okay, we're gonna follow her plan. She can't really relay. It's like, yeah, you could use Makari to like be a messenger, but like you don't need to do that especially when the beginning of society is all in one place. Like, what are they going to do? Like, sure. Society doesn't really expand until
but even still, this is the beginning of humankind. Why do you need a speedster? If you don't need someone running all around the world relaying messages, what good is she? I mean, okay, and now let me give the flip of that. I'm glad she's there because she's the best thing in this movie.
Yeah, she's awesome.
All of her scenes are fantastic. Her kicking Icarus's ass, just like bopping into him a bunch of time. That's the best thing. That and her running, not doing slow mo.
Yes.
This is perfect.
I was going to bring this up.
They finally kind of nailed it. I want to see what it's like being them and like how you ran over an ocean in an instant because you're so damn fast. I love that. Everything with her is good. It's just I wish there was a character instead of someone who just decided to hang out in the ship, eager to go home, reading books.
Well, I mean, I imagine because this world is so expansive, it's like, yeah, this is the origin story, so maybe some people take a back seat. Like, I'm surprised Angelina Jolie being the biggest name in this movie is very much a secondary character.
Yeah,
like
10 lines, I think she has.
Doesn't get much to say, doesn't get much to do. I mean, she has some emoting scenes.
Sure.
She's not doing a poor job by any means, and she is a badass. I mean, the inspiration for the warrior goddess Athena in Greek mythology. But, you know, I'm just surprised that they didn't, like, lean into, like, really trying to sell you Angelina Jolie in the trailers, really. It's just like, oh, she's in this. It's like, wow, like, she was the biggest star in the world.
And then they give her a stupid disease, a mind wipe disease, that makes her crazy, called the Mad Weary, and just kind of give her nothing to do until, like, a monster shows up.
Yeah, but at least the mind weary sort of was plot relevant. It wasn't just like, oh, we have nothing to do, so let's just give her an illness that she has to fight. It's like, this illness was part of the key to unlocking the mystery. So they didn't give Gilgamesh anything to do. No. They gave Athena more to do.
Didn't he, wasn't he, like, chopping wood or something when they introduced him? He's doing something in the woods.
Are you talking about, like, before they jump to the future, or, like, when they get him...
When they're re-recruiting to get the...
He's baking a pie, and that's the part that made me the most angry. It's just, you wasted the pie. Like, I could watch a car accident. Like, if I'm standing in my front yard and my mom is pulling up, and then another car slams into her at 100 miles an hour, I still would not drop the pie I'm holding. Yeah. I don't know why I'm outside with a pie. But, like, any food, I'd be like...
Mom, I made you a pie, like, come back!
Yeah, I'd be like, oh my God, Mom! And I'd set down whatever food I was holding, and then run to the scene.
Steve will always prioritize food.
I'm just not going to waste it. It's not necessarily a priority. It's just, now I have two problems.
Yeah. I really would just say, fuck all about this pie. But I don't want to clean up pie later.
Yeah. Now I'm hungry and sad. Come on, I can't be both. I think all the action scenes were a lot of fun. Like I said earlier, I think the biggest problem with this movie is the deviants. I just wish, like, the deviants had different color palettes. Yeah, they all looked. They were just dogs, except one dog has wings and one has a crazy tail. Like, they were all essentially the same, except for the spiny lead one, the lead deviant, which you also, like, turned into this human villain character, but he didn't really do anything. He just kind of there to do one exposition scene where he's just, we're not the real bad guys here, and then you just kill him instantly. Like, the deviants are. And I know that's not the point, like, Icarus is the main villain of this movie, but it just, the deviants were kind of wasted, I felt. Yeah. But that's my big complaint about the movie. Make
them mindless animals that it's like, no, we got to kill them because all they want to do is kill humans. That's all they needed to be. The real villain is the family dynamic and the feuding. That's what this movie should be, not just this arbitrary villain of rainbow ribbon Twizzler pull and peel looking shit. Yeah, they sucked. They were dumb. It would have been nice to kind of see them going through history and having these sort of... I think we even said it in one of our This Meets That about, like, time travel and stuff and fucking with history. Right. But what if Pompeii blew up because they had a falling out? Two characters, like, really go at it in the past, and because they are fucking around by a volcano, they caused that, and they wiped it out a bunch of people, and it's like, shit, gotta remember the Prime Directive and blah blah blah. It would have been kind of fun to see, like, oh well, they all split for a few years, and that's when, like, the Black Death happened, and we couldn't take care of ourselves because our 10 guardian angels weren't watching, and then what brings us back together, and the more prosperous times in human development, and this is when they were really working as a team, and then eventually once you have things like the Avengers show up, they realize, well, we're not needed here to defend, they already have their heroes, we can actually kind of retire, okay, now we're ready to go home, but the Celestials not letting us go home, okay, I guess we gotta just kind of blend in, and then seeing how these gods of 7,000 years just kind of try to make it as normal humans, and then you have people like Icarus who's like, no, we are fucking gods, we have a job to do, and bringing them all back, and that should have been your main focus of the movie, is the family conflict of ideologies.
Yeah, do you remember if they explain what Icarus has been doing for years and years and years?
I don't think so. Everybody's got a story. Yeah, I'm making movies. I'm on a ship.
I'm leading a cult in the jungle and stuff. Like, everyone has stuff to do. It's like Athena and Gilgamesh, they're just hiding out in the middle of nowhere because of her thing, and they don't want to hurt people. Like, I get that. So, like, they didn't have anything to do. Icarus is the only one you don't see. Like, does he get a job?
Maybe he was, or like...
is he just in hiding, like Ajax kind of thing?
Could be. He's just flying around the world. I mean, imagine if you looked like him and had those powers. You'd be living the life. All right, Steve, tell us about the attractive men in this movie.
Oh, I gotta say, I've had a man crush on Richard Madden since Game of Thrones days. He's one hell of a good-looking man. Yep. Like, Jesus Christ. Him getting cast as the Superman of the Marvel Universe makes total sense.
Absolutely genius.
Cersei is gorgeous. Mm-hmm. My eyes never left Richard Madden when he's on the screen. Like, he's one of the best looking dudes I've ever seen. And then Kit Harrington is in this. Mm-hmm. Once again, a good looking man. Not to the level of Richard Madden.
He's definitely the ugly brother.
And I like that it almost felt like they switched roles. Like, Kit Harrington was the charismatic, loving character that Richard Madden was in Game of Thrones, and then Richard Madden, this one, is kind of like the dark, brooding one, even though he's not as like dour as Jon Snow by any means. For sure. But it was just kind of interesting to see that flip, and it's kind of a bummer to just see those guys literally have like one shot in the movie where they're together. Mm-hmm. It's like, because he definitely marketed that for a reason.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that they're both vying for the love of a woman named Cersei, so weird.
Yeah.
But I mean, Kit Harrington cast as the Black Knight when he spent 8 years playing the Black Knight of Game of Thrones. It's like, of course. Is he
pissed at himself, or is he just like, this is my lot in life, I'm gonna have to do this?
I got that forever. Marvel movie money now. Yeah. He's
but
not
to
mad.
Be like, okay, so I'm playing another knight in black, and there's a woman named Cersei in my life. Really? I could do one or the other, but both? Come on.
But this Cersei spelled with an S.
Oh, well, I guess you got that.
That being said, Cersei is a very beautiful woman.
Yeah, I knew her from Humans.
Humans, yeah. I remember you talking about that show. Which,
also, guys, check out Humans.
I know her from Crazy Rich Asians.
Ah, well. Okay, well, where do you want us to go? What's next for the internals?
Well, I don't think... I mean, Icarus is dead, but I think he's coming back.
Yeah, he just flew into the sun, right?
Yeah, but I imagine that would have destroyed him, but there's no reason the Celestial just can't make another one. Yeah, they can bring back anyone, really.
But we didn't see him burn up to a skeleton or anything, right?
No, but do we need to see...
I mean, if you're doing
Indiana Jones face melting to establish he's actually dead?
But Indiana Jones didn't die. Indiana Jones is still alive.
I'm talking about the guy in Indiana Jones whose face melted with the Ark of the Covenant.
Well, yeah, but if they opened the Covenant and all the things flew out and everyone screamed, and then we didn't see anybody's face melt off, it's like, oh, did they run away?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, what did you... Like, they did the thing you just said that...
He flies into the sun and you see, like, the hair go, the face go, and then it's a skeleton, and then it's done. We didn't see any of that, so he could have flown into the sun and just is chilling. Like, Superman gets powered by the sun. Why can't Icarus...
Yeah, but I don't think Superman can fly into it.
He absolutely can. He's done it many times. Absolutely. Oh, I got kryptonite poisoning. I got it blasted all out of me. Fly into the sun for a couple minutes. Yeah, the sun is cool.
That's the title.
Superman, the sun is cool. That's funny because suns are hot and they're not cold.
So where would I like to see this go? Well, here's the thing. This is my first experience with the Eternals. I don't know what their comic book stories are.
Not at all.
I imagine they can interact with the Guardians of the Galaxy since they're kind of your space group. And that's another thing. It's just that I found impressive about the Marvel Universe is you can take characters like Guardians of the Galaxy who no one really knows about, and it's a team where you're introducing all of them very quickly, and it works. And then you have this movie, and maybe it doesn't work as much as Guardians of the Galaxy, but it is twice the size of the team of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And once again, all characters I knew nothing about. I still don't have any real backstory to these characters, but like I know them all and I like them all. But although I'm glad Gilgamesh is dead, and
he's the only one that dies. Everybody
Ajax dies too. And
that's right. I'm saying Icarus is not dead. He's chilling in the sun.
I don't think he's
biding his time. He's like, oh, that planet's going to blow up and turn into a celestial. Maybe I'm going to go hide in the sun, just in case.
In case Earth becomes a celestial.
I don't know. Just in case.
They stopped it. He was there, but they stopped it.
That's true. Anywho,
so I don't really know where the story goes from here. for them. I mean, at this point, they are free to interact however they want. So you can see them team up with other characters, which I imagine we'll see them do. I'd like to see them fight a Celestial of some sort of... Maybe this is where you bring Galactus in. I don't really know Galactus' story, but I think you can do... If this is your Justice League of the Marvel Universe, then have them face the Darkseid of the Marvel Universe, which I guess would be your Thanos kind of character.
Okay, no, you have that all wrong. The Justice League of the Marvel Universe is the Avengers, and the Darkseid of the Marvel Universe is Thanos. I don't know why you went with Eternals and Galactus.
Well, I think Marvel's Justice League, like, it was always, yes, the Avengers is their Justice League, but that's just because those are all the biggest names. But I think these guys' powers sort of align more with the Justice League. So that's why I'm saying it. It's like, I know the Avengers are the team, but there's a Superman character. Bastos is a Batman kind of. There's a Wonder Woman character. Like, they're lit. There's a Speed character. She's even wearing red and yellow.
Yeah,
like,
but
this is the Justice League.
Nothing. There's like that's interesting. That
because even everyone on the Avengers, while super enhanced, they're all humans with the exception of the God of Thunder, really. Where these are pretty much all gods.
Sure. Yeah. I take back my criticism.
Thank you.
You
Thank you.
Sense. But I do think this is where you bring in Galactus, where maybe Galactus is a celestial, like, garbage man. And when you abort your celestial halfway through his thing, that's when he comes and eats the planet. Because it's like, it's full of that celestial embryonic fluid, you know? It's all stem cells. It's like an Earth full of stem cells. And Galactus needs a facelift. So, I mean, maybe that's just his thing. He takes care of that for the Celestials, and the Eternals are like, no, we saved that planet for a reason. And they're like, well, you could have either brought another god into this world, or do what you did.
Now, is Galactus in this a giant cloud?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Of course. There's no other way.
That he is a cloud. That is his thing. Yeah, and then you have Silver Surfer, you know, you do all that.
Yeah, I think...
Like, fuck Galactus with the Fantastic Four. It's a stretchy guy, a rock guy, a fire guy, and an invisible lady fighting a god, a space god. And I know he's very smart, Reed Richards is very smart, but, like, let's save Galactus for the Eternals. It makes way more sense. Yeah. And then you could actually have them, like, running up his body and stabbing him and punching him and, like, all these crazy things, where I think that just doesn't work with Fantastic Four. Give him Mole Man. I mean, that's simple.
If you want to introduce the Fantastic Four into the Eternals movie as, like, okay, Reed Richards has discovered something that will help us, or, like, he's been doing research on our bodies or something that will allow us to fight. Like, you could...
Yeah,
you could work that in
for
there.
Sure.
But yeah, to have this team of not really super power. I mean, you're right. It's just like powers don't align with Galactus as much. Like this wouldn't be the team you send to fight a world ender. You send the Avengers or the Eternals. The Fantastic Four would be a weird choice, but you could introduce them in there.
Sure. Yeah.
What do you think of Harry Styles as Star Fox? I didn't know Star Fox had a troll friend.
I guess. I didn't care for any of that because it's one of those things, like, I understand Gamora and Nebula are not true sisters and stuff, but, like, you understand the relationship. But I'm pretty sure this is, like, blood brother? Like, this is...
I think they're half-brothers.
Okay, even still, don't give them the purple skin, give them the weird chin. I got the skin from my dad and the chin from my mom.
You want us to pay all that money to digitally alter his chin back?
Okay, then keep the chin because of the handsome face and just make him purple. And just be like, yeah, I'm... But it's like, hey...
But then teen girls won't swoon.
They'll swoon for a purple face guy. They'll do it. But I think it, like, dumb name. Star Fox is a Nintendo character. Your troll thing was the worst.
They'll probably just call him Eros for the majority of it.
Absolutely. Your troll guy by Patton Oswalt was terrible. Ugliest thing in the movie. Terrible effect. Everything else looked great.
Yeah, I was surprised at
how bad it looked.
How bad it looked, yeah.
Really stupid.
I mean, I love Patton Oswalt.
Sure.
And, of course, I I'm not surprised he made it into this world as much as he's talked about comics and everything.
Yeah.
And doing MODOK on Hulu and everything. But so it was cool to like hear him. I just wish his character looked better.
Yeah. He would have been a better Howard the Duck than Seth Green, I think. Well, yeah. Okay, second post-credit scene. Well, that was mid-credit. Post-credit. Other credit scene. Okay, I didn't know that was Blade.
Oh, you really?
No. He says, what does he say? He says like 2 words, right?
Yeah, it's just, I think I've heard Mahershala Ali's voice enough to where I knew exactly who that was. But, yeah, if you didn't know he was cast, you would be like, well, what does that mean?
If he was standing outside the window or whatever, like, hey, you want to go kill things? And then he turns around and he's standing there with his cool Blade sunglasses. Then I'd be like, oh, it's Blade.
Glasses made out of blades.
But just an off-camera voiceover going like, you ready for this? I could not tell.
Oh, all right. Well, maybe you weren't supposed to. Maybe that was just a little like, oh, go on the internet and find out.
Yeah, it's always, well, this is for the real fans. Sorry, I'm ear deaf.
Ear deaf? So just deaf.
Yeah, so I meant like I'm like voice deaf. What I meant to say. Voice deaf. Damn it. I felt a little taken advantage of because I thought Kit Harington's Black Knight was gonna be in this movie, and I was kind of wondering why I wasn't seeing anything about it, because when they cast it, it was like, this is this person, and it's him, and you wouldn't think the person called the Black Knight would not do any sort of night stuff.
Yeah, but
gotta just tee him up for his own thing.
Yeah, tee him up. I mean, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been doing this for years and years now, and it's the Eternals movie, not the Eternals and the Black Knight. And
but I always assumed he was an Eternal.
Oh, okay.
For the lead up.
Well, I think in the trailer they established from the get-go that he wasn't. When he was talking to Cersei, he was like, how come you guys didn't help all this time?
Yeah. That added to my confusion.
So anyway, but I mean, it makes sense if you're going to introduce him, this is the one to do it, because in the comics, he did date Cersei, which I learned after I watched the movie and did some research about the character. But anyway, and honestly, like, that end tag has me more excited for the potential of that storyline, because from the Wikipedia article I read on
Black Knight,
he, at one point, his sword is replaced by a fake with, like, Dracula has his real sword, so he has to fight Dracula to get his real sword back, and it's like, oh, if you're going to do the vampire thing and fight Dracula, team up with Blade. Yeah. And that's I would love to see those two team up and fight. I think that'd be real cool.
And maybe that's where they're headed.
Yeah.
I just didn't think a character like the Black Knight, who associates with the Eternals, would be associated with Blade as well. They just seem like such far... I would never in a million years think that the first tease of Blade would be in the Eternals movie. That's so weird.
Yeah. And I don't know if... Once again, my whole experience with the Black Knight is the Wikipedia article I read this week.
We know you're dumb.
Yeah. Fuck off.
Everybody knows the Black Knight except for Steve.
Yeah. But I don't think he ever actually teamed up with Blade at any point. I think this is just something they're doing because they've had a similar villain, and I like that about it.
Yeah, that's cool.
But honestly, I love this movie, and the other weird thing about it was it's so weird in the cinematic universe that we've seen celestials and aliens and monsters and actual gods and all this crazy stuff, and then here comes, we're now fighting vampires. I'm like, are there really going to be vampires? It's like, you just keep introducing things that have never existed in the world, and then it's just they haven't popped up in 200 years because of...
Well, there is actually an explanation for that.
Okay.
In the comics, there were no vampires, but I think Doctor Strange undid it, and then vampires just kind of came back.
Oh, okay. Well, if that's what you're going
with,
fine.
A magic thing. Hey, that's what they're doing now. Doctor Strange fucked something up.
You're doing the multiverse, and I have no doubt that they can write it and it would make sense. It'd be like, okay, yeah, I could buy that. Yeah. It's just funny watching these movies and the scale of which they're escalating, and then they're fighting literal space beings the size of galaxies or bigger, And then I'm just like, there's no fucking way vampires around here. But yeah, I mean, I am excited to see where that goes, and I like Kit Harington, and I'm interested to see what they do with the blade, especially since the blade came from Kull, I think his name is, who's the god of symbiotes, who's going to be in the Thor, the
Love and Thunder.
Thor, Love and Thunder.
Played by Christian Bale, right?
Played by Christian Bale. It's like, are they going to connect all those things, or
they better?
Or what?
I mean, why wouldn't they?
And then they also had that. I thought it was just like a throwaway joke of like, oh, is that the ebony blade? And she's like, no, it's Excalibur. I thought she was just like doing a bit, and then find out that like, oh no, the Black Knight was at Camelot and fought with King Arthur and stuff. Just like, oh, so in this universe, Camelot and King Arthur and all that stuff that existed.
That really happened.
And so I'm reading that and like, okay, now I have to buy vampires, but I have to buy Camelot existed too. It's like, so these things of like, I liked that the Eternals became legends, but also there are legends that exist that no one else knows exist. But I guess it's like Atlantis on you know, with Aquaman or whatever. It's like, but I can get that because it's so deep undersea. Yeah. But like, there's just a British kingdom that has been lost to time, or is it in this universe? I don't really know. It's just interesting, all the stuff that they're throwing.
And maybe they won't even touch on that, though.
Yeah.
It's like, the sword has been around for years and was even rumored to be Excalibur at one point, blah, blah, blah. But that is all just myth. Mm-hmm. But it is a thirsty sword that forces you to kill people. So I give this a C-. I thought this, like, for a movie, it was perfectly fine, but didn't do anything that made me go, wow. I hate saying that I like Black Widow and Shang-Chi more than this, because I really feel like of those three, I think Black Widow's the best one. Okay. Like, Shang-Chi
See, I think Black Widow's solid, and I like Shang-Chi a lot more than you, but I feel like as I've sat on Shang-Chi, that it has not aged well, even though it hasn't really been that long.
It's been forever.
Yeah.
It's been like,
what, it just
3
not
months?
the movie hasn't aged.
It doesn't sit well.
It doesn't sit as well with me as when I first watched it, because I remember leaving and going like, oh wow, that was really cool. I like the different stuff that they did. But this one I felt was like a much stronger film than Shang-Chi, just as a film. As entertaining, maybe not, but like I said, this is a different. I wouldn't really categorize those two together. It just seems like two different styles of movies, even though it's set in the same world or universe, I guess. So I would give this movie an A-.
Wow.
I was never bored. I liked all the characters. The minus comes from the deviants because I just didn't care about them at all. But I had a good time. Liked the characters. Druig and Makari were awesome. And if it was a show, maybe I would have liked it more. Maybe it had more potential. But I think as a movie, it was able to keep me engaged, and I didn't feel dumb, and I liked that they did new stuff in the Marvel Universe, even though I think the stuff that they did was a little bit overplayed just for, and I get that from like a media standpoint. It's like, oh, this has the first kiss of two men and it's banned in a bunch of countries. It's like, all right, well, it's two dudes who kiss for a second. Yeah. It's not groundbreaking shit.
No. And even them talking about like, oh, this one has a sex scene. It's like, you don't even see them thrust. They're just two people laying on each other. Kissing on the
It's
beach.
like, it was the most calm sex scene, the most calm male-on-male kiss. Like, I appreciate it, but at the same time, like, that stuff just also frustrated me, only because, like, news articles are just blowing this shit up. Yeah. And it's like, I knew going in, it's like, I guarantee that kiss is not going to be anything special. And I guarantee that sex scene is going to be so unsexy that it shouldn't even really count as a sex scene. It's like these, but like, I appreciate that it's there.
These are the two most beautiful people in this movie, and the sex scene is nothing. You know, like, you feel nothing. There's like the sex scene in Iron Man 1 when he's rolling around with, what's her name, Christine Everhart? Is that her name?
I don't remember the actress's...
No, the character's
name.
Yeah.
I remember the actress name.
Yeah. Leslie Bibb?
Leslie Bibb, yeah.
Like them just kind of like rolling on the bed and falling off is like more titillizing than two people on a
Yeah, but he wasn't inside her, Ben.
As far as you know. They landed...
No, well, alright.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, if an Avenger was going to get laid, you would think it'd be Tony Stark.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of,
Absolutely.
like, he'd be the guy who gets the sex scene.
Mm-hmm. And it's in the first movie, so I don't know why they're making such a big deal about it.
Yeah. But anyway, I think it's great, and I think a scene I didn't talk about but wanted to, just real quick, I just thought it was both terrifying.
Cut it anyway, so whatever.
What?
I'm gonna cut it anyway. So
okay. Whatever. I thought it was both terrifying and like surprising and just crazy. It's just like, imagine you're walking in the park and then the clouds part and there's just a being 5 times the size of the planet. Like, how fucking scary would that be? Like, you see nukes flying overhead, that'd be scary, but it's like, at least it's over. But like, you see this thing just in the sky and it's just talking, and
that's what I want in life.
Like,
I want something so crazy that my mind can't comprehend.
Yeah.
I want to go mad by seeing something actually happen.
Lovecraft, Cthulhu stuff, like, so terrifying.
Because, like, you see the moon, and you know how big the moon is and how far it is, and it's like, wow, the moon's just, like, right there. But imagine if something could hold the Earth like a ball, just floating in space. That's
so scary.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. So I think that was another real cool part about it. I thought the Celestials were going to be kind of lame, just from a visual standpoint.
Yeah.
Of just simple. Like, oh, we're faceless bionicle monsters. But I think, like, and that's in the scene where they sort of do the backstory, you might get that vibe a little bit, but just seeing his scale as compared to, like, them and the world, I just think Harrington, I think it was, or Ayrsham, his look and the fact that he was an actual character. It wasn't just something where it was like Selma Hayek repeating dialogue that you can't hear him say, but that she can hear. Yeah, it's like, what do you mean I gotta do this? Like, I like that he was a being that existed and talked. So, I don't know. I thought it was great, and I think I understand the criticisms, but I think none of those things bothered me. And I hope that in the future this movie will be appreciated more, where other movies that may be more popular are going, okay, well, like, that was fun, but I don't really care about the movie anymore. The Eternals are fucking awesome. And, maybe we will see them become a TV show, or, in future movies expand more, and, Droog and Makari go out looking for more Eternals. And it's like, who else are we going to get on the team?
Yeah.
I think you can do some real cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, will this probably make your top of the year? Or in the top 10 of your year?
If it does, it'll probably be like 9 or 10.
Okay.
Because Marvel movies, as much as I enjoy them, typically don't make my list. But this has been a sort of slow year. Yeah. So if it makes a list, I wouldn't be upset. But I also wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't. If it just cracked the top like 12 or something,
Okay. It's not making mine. That's for sure. Well, thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. If you'd like to get in contact with us, we are on Twitter at WRPL Podcast or WRPLpodcast@gmail.com. Send us a tweet, send us an email, yada, yada, yada. My name's Ben.
And I'm Steve.
Bye.